All right.
So a few years ago, we were trying to navigate trying to legalize the natural buildings that we had done at Quail Springs, and Art Ludwig and several of us, including David Eisenberg and a whole coalition of people, said that basically we came together to draft legislation that would help legalize some test sites around California. And that's all we were trying to do. We weren't trying to change the building codes. We were trying to get legislation that would allow for test sites to gather data that would allow us to then have valid research to help us legalize more ecological solutions to building. And what we found was we got a bill entered into, it was AB like 1611. I could look up the number, but we had it entered into legislation, and it basically went into committee. And in committee, the pipes trades put a lockdown on everything. And basically, the pipes trades is the representation of steel, concrete, plastics, and it's one of the most powerful lobbies in California politics. And they basically said, nope, we're not going to allow this. Not the legislators, but the pipes trade said it, and they owned the committee. They basically owned the committee, and they told us that. You know, it's done. And they killed it in committee both times we tried to enter it. So what ended up happening, there's several people that have been instrumental. David Eisenberg, who's the DCAT, Development Center for Appropriate Technology, he is an ally that is working tirelessly around the world to work with building officials, not to go around them. And he's got some very well-developed strategies, and he's got a lot of respect within the building community as an ally. The other is Bill Kelly, is instrumental in being the CBO of Marin County. He also, for us, helped to change our chief building official's mind and how to interpret our buildings. And basically what he ended up doing, he's the head, I believe he's the president of the National County Building Officials Association and was a formal president of the California County Building Officials Association. Very powerful, very well respected person within the building official world. And we had a kind of a secret meeting with him. It wasn't totally secret, but him and a couple other officials came, and some environmental officials came to Art Ludwig's house in Santa Barbara. And we basically did a 2-day symposium where we talked about how could we change the laws, how could we, you know, what needs to have happen. And we had building officials there helping us with that. And Bill Kelly was right on with it. Like, he just said, you know what, our industry is driven by money. He said, first, we just got to put that out in the open. Like, he did a big money sign on the wall. And he said, what we have to do is we have to shift the mandates that drive the regulations. And so he had a lot of different ideas around that as well. And I feel like, you know, for us, Art Ludwig and I, we decided to go the route of taking and looking at the health repercussions of the modern building as a risk for the new century that we're in. And being able to say that the old risks were very valid, but they're not, like our buildings in California, statistically using CDC data, are more dangerous than a rubble house in Pakistan because of the toxicity issues are actually made our house. We have more, you know, the risks have changed, and we need to meet those risks with new ways of building, and that's where natural building has its place. So I want to connect you with Art. Art is unbelievable with what he's done and the data he's gathered, and I'm glad to share our story. We now have the only legal cob building in Southern California, thanks to all these people I just mentioned. And you know, I'm not much of a political person myself, but it's funny how when you're doing the work of your heart and you know what you're doing is actually life-giving, it ends up putting you in a place where oftentimes you're asked to do things you would never think you'd be doing, probably like yourself.